me, I live life to the fullest. When I take my last breath, I want to look back and feel like I had an amazing life, because the analogy I give to my clients sometimes is, imagine you go on a trip to Rome, and the whole time you stay in your hotel room, you order food in, you watch TV, and then you go back home. Well, if it was me going to Rome, I would sit in a little cafe outside, watch people going by and buy some nice shoes, go to the opera, maybe, nice Italian meals like the museum, and I would come back home. And I think as spiritual being, we come here on planet Earth, and our job is to soak everything we can and bring it back. And I believe that once we take our last breath, the only thing that's going to matter is, did you love? Were you loved? And did you grow in wisdom? Did you squeeze what you could out of life? And naturally, that always leads us to a hero's journey, big challenge that take us on ups and downs. But my background as a chiropractor, I could have 10 people with similar back conditions. 8 of them would get better and the 2 others would not. And that was so frustrating. So I did some research, and then in 1988, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given 9 months to live. That was 3 weeks before my sister's wedding. 1 week after my sister's wedding, my 21-year-old brother died in a car accident. And within a month of all this, my 8-year relationship to the man I thought I was going to marry ended. And it was like, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah.
So to survive the pain, I went on a quest to understand, what does it take to live a great life? Because it's not if these things are going to happen to us, is when they happen to us, how do we turn them to our advantage? How do we use them so that instead of getting flat like a pancake, we actually soar and become stronger and better than we were before?
And I love the analogy that you use, the hero's journey, because often when I have something going on, I'm like, okay, I know what this is. I recognize that hero's journey. And it's sometimes you want to send it back. I wish someone could send it back. And then you look at it and you say, okay, I know that I have some discovering here. There's some gift in this, and that I don't understand it. And I'm just curious that when people are in a place of hitting that space of, I know you said, ow, and I can't imagine the pain that you were feeling of, so much anticipated grief, so much, shock to your system on losing your brother. And my condolences. It just, all of it happening at once just feels like this snowball that wrapped up, and then all of a sudden it's just like hit a wall and it breaks apart, right?
What was really big, like you're saying, you're catching on to this, is like, nobody expects a 21 super healthy young man to die before his 57-year-old father diagnosed with terminal cancer. And that was a big part of the shock. And that was what you really realize, like, we never know when we're going to die.
Yeah.
How do you live? How do you live it so that you have no regrets? That's like, one day I went to a restaurant here in Toronto and having lunch outside. And all of a sudden, this big branch touched my bangs and ended in my plate.
Oh,
like
my.
a few inches back, I would not be here anymore. So it was like, okay, I've been given the message in many different ways that, how do you live life? How do you use it to the best? And, I do public speaking and I teach seminar, and I've asked people, raise your hand if you've never had huge challenges in your life. And from asking this to thousands of people, only one. It was a young girl. She says, me. And she says, I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen when I face a challenge.
Oh, boy.
So, and I always use my yin and yang. If you hang around me, I always have my yin and yang. But what I like to show is that if we are able to look at every challenge that happens to us as giving us an opportunity to grow, then we can find the benefits. So like, it's the corny story of the butterfly in the cocoon story. One day the scientist is observing the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. It's a huge struggle. It takes hours and hours and hours. So to be nice to the butterfly, he cuts the cocoon open. But by doing this, the butterfly has nothing to struggle against. The wings are weak. It can never fly, and it dies like. So once we can look at everything that happens in our life happening for us instead of to us,
Yeah.
we can shift our whole way of looking at life. Because if you're a smart human being, the goal is not to avoid challenges and only have pleasure. It doesn't happen. Nobody experiences more pleasure than pain, more pain than pleasure. It's always even. So if you're smart, you learn to use both sides to your advantage. Because if you have something in your heart, a big goal that you want to make happen, but it's so comfy to stay at home and be with your partner and have a loving time, and it's easy and sweet, but then you're not doing the things that your heart really wants you to do, then you're going to feel depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get challenges that if we actually use them to our advantage, it could help us grow and get us where we want to go. So not to get stuck in pleasure, not to run away from pain, but learn to use them both in a healthy fashion to get us where we want to go.
I think many people, they struggle with that uncertainty because they feel that if they have this sense of control or they know what's upcoming, right, that it helps them live their lives. But in truth, there's nothing certain about life.
And my experience has been, because of the yin and the yang again, the more we try to create control, the more we create circumstances to surprise us. So the only thing we can do is respond to what's happening in a way. And one trick I give my clients is, when you face a challenge, you take a deep breath in and you go, since I'm worthy of love, what am I supposed to learn from this? Because it takes away emotions. Emotions are guides to show you where you have the illusion of being unworthy of love. Emotions are guides to show you where you have the illusion of being unworthy of love. And when you're in your emotion, in your amygdala, the center of your brain there, you don't have access to the frontal cortex. And now you start spinning in your emotion and you make it worse and worse and worse. So if you start with, since I'm worthy of love, how am I going to use this to my advantage? And basically, I find that there are two reasons why we face challenges. The first reason is we need to learn to master whatever is happening, because obviously, if we mastered it, it wouldn't be a challenge. Feel it as a challenge, it's been mastered. That's one. The other one is, it's sending you in a direction that you don't know you need to go, but it's guiding you to go in this way that you need to go. Like for me, I told you the story about, what happened with my dad, my brother. I had no idea, but the only thing I did is I trusted. So it's so important to trust and to stay in the quest, in the question. When we're being challenged, sometimes we have no idea where it's leading us. Just before I'm doing this interview, I was interviewing one of my clients because I'm doing a peer review study on my work. And this woman, when she started working with me, she was going through all the challenges, but she's beautiful because so the whole time as she was going through the challenges, she just trusted. And I guided her, but I'm a good coach. I think I'm a great coach, but she also had the heart and the intuition and trusting. If we can trust that everything happens for us and we watch what's happening, then we can get an idea. Sometimes we get challenged because we know we need to leave that job, but it's too comfy. I got, my vacation days, or you're in a relationship and it's time to go, but what are my friends going to say? What are my family? So challenges are just lessons. Nothing is happening because something is wrong with you. It's always happening for you to help you grow.
And I love the way you frame that. So a couple things that percolate for me right now is when we're thinking about trust, people have often, they break the commitments to themselves so much more often than they break commitments to other people. And then it becomes that wearing of self-trust because there's that self-talk that develops. And I'm sharing this because it's happened to me. So I figure out if I can show an example, that vulnerability of, there's certain circumstances you may keep promises to yourself, but there's other ones that you have eroded that trust with yourself. And how do you help a client reconnect with trusting themselves?
Yeah, I can see you have experience, because that is exactly that. If we don't trust others, if we don't trust life, it's because usually we're not trusting ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of my work is I work both consciously and subconsciously. So for me, the conscious part is, for me, it's important to create a mission statement for our lives, because we don't know where to go. We end up doing what other people want us to do in life. And if we don't know what we want to receive from life, we end up receiving what other people want to give us. So it's super important to become really clear. What's my purpose? Not from your head, not from your gut, which is your emotions, but from your heart. Like, what's my calling? When you have a purpose greater than yourself, it brings joy and inspiration and courage and gets you moving. So like you say, you start and you have this mission and you're clear, then you're not doing some of the things you know you need to do, which erodes your trust. So I've found that there are 3 clues that you have a subconscious belief working against you. The first one is, you know what needs to be done, but you're not doing it. The famous procrastination.
Yeah.
And procrastination doesn't happen because you're lazy, because you lack willpower. Procrastination happens because your subconscious mind believes that you're going to have more pain than pleasure, or more danger than safety, in this thing that you really want. Because relatively speaking, your brain, your conscious mind that wants something is the size of a football. And your subconscious mind that's there to keep you alive, the football field. So see the difference in that. Which one do you think is going to win? So a shocking example of that, and I love using it because it's so extreme, it's like a Canadian Olympic skier, 4 Olympic athletes in Canada, no money. So you do it this all for glory. So no money, you sacrifice your whole social life, your familial life, your romantic life, you train all the time because you want to win consciously.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes to see me, and she had not placed in 2 years. She wanted to place. So doing the heart freedom method, I test the statement with her, I want to win. And lo and behold, she didn't want to win subconsciously. Why? And that's what I love about the work I do. It's called the heart freedom method. Is I'm able within 10 minutes to find a moment where you create a belief that's now holding you back. So